Hey guys, this is part 5 of the FPS tutorial. Today we're going to be making AI, and this is going to work for all projects. This AI we'll be making you can use for any project or a shooter, but today we're going to be making it for the shooter. So first thing we want to do is go into our Unity registry by going to Window and going to Package Manager and then going to Unity Registry and then searching Nav, and we're going to install the AI navigation. Now if your the version of Unity you're using is older than this and it doesn't have the AI navigation, you can download it from GitHub. It works just a tiny bit differently, but mostly the same. I'll include the link for it in the description. Once you've downloaded it, go ahead and make a new object, call it the NavMesh. Put the NavMesh surface on it. If you downloaded the GitHub project, it will be a little script icon. If you have the newer version, it will be this icon. Go ahead and put that NavMesh surface on there. And we're going to go ahead and go to our surfaces and do show NavMesh and bake it. Make sure we get a nice little bake of what we want. And one easy way is to just go ahead and disable the enemy and player, bake our NavMesh, and re-enable them. That way our NavMesh isn't being cut out by them. I'm going to go ahead and include this script. I went over it in another video, but it's only for terrain trees, but it's very useful if you are using terrain trees. So go ahead and plop that on. Let's see, it's called set terrain obstacles. Again, it's just for terrain obstacles that are placed with terrain trees, but it's very useful if you're using terrain trees. So go ahead and put it on there. Oh, and also make sure you disable terrain trees, the terrain obstacles. Since we don't have any terrain or terrain trees, just go ahead and disable that script for now. It's good to have it in case you need it though. And then on our enemy, we want to make a script for the enemy movement. So let's go ahead and type in a new script and call it enemy move. We're going to place that on our enemy cube. Go ahead and open it in the editor. Alright, I just noticed a bug with the projectile gun. It's shooting all over the place. I think it's colliding against the player somewhere, so let's fix that. Okay, so it was a problem with the object pooler. There's some things I forgot to show you the last couple tutorials, so we'll do it now. Alright, so go to your gun, and first things first, in your gun script under create projectile, where we had it set to projectile, get projectile, type game object before it. We need to declare that because projectile is the projectile being spawned in the pool, and we want to be getting a new projectile, not that projectile. Or making it equal new projectile. That's just a small little code thing. It wasn't really causing the bug, but what was causing the bug was we didn't reset all of the properties. So go ahead and make a private vector 3 original scale, and then quaternion original rotation, and a float, and start return time. And then in the awake, not the start, we need to get the start return time equals the return time, original scale equals transform dot local scale, original rotation equals transform.rotation scale. And then on the disable, we need to make the return time equal the start return time, the timer equals 0, the transform.position equals 0, the game object.transform.local scale equal the original scale, the transform.rotation equal the original rotation, and this is going to reset all of the things in the script. And then we're going to go to get the original body component, and then we're going to reset everything on the original body. Rigid body. Alright, and then that should fix your gun. Oh, and also we're going to go ahead and change the hit scan layers because we need to add that as well in the gun. So go to your, actually let's make a whole new layer for that. So let's go to our player manager, and we're going to take the hit scan layers and put that in the player manager so we don't have to put it in for every gun. And we're going to make another layer mask, and we're going to call this the blocking layer. And then we're going to need in our gun to get our player controller, our player manager. So private, if we haven't already gotten it, private player manager. And then in our awake, we will get component and parent, player manager. And we're just going to copy that player manager and put it in front of the hit scan layers. We're going to change this to block layers. but we need to go to our player manager first, and make these public. And so where your gun is blocking, we're going to use the blocking layer. That way we have a layer for the hit scan shots and for the blocking layer. Alright, now in our player manager, we're going to want to set our hit scan layers to not everything, to default, enemy, and projectile. And then on our blocking layer, we're just going to choose enemy and default. And then save that. And so now everything is fixed and we can shoot. And our bullets won't block or shoot in the wrong direction. Okay, so then on our enemy cube, let's go ahead and add a NavMesh agent. And what that is going to do is going to allow the cube to walk around on the NavMesh. And then we're going to open our enemy move script that we made earlier. And we're going to go ahead and type private NavMesh agent. And then we're going to get that component that we just put on it. Okay. And now there's two ways to do this. We can set path, which is good for like things like AI walking around and wandering on a path, but in our game we're just going to use set destination because we just want it to go to certain places. So to go ahead and test this, let's go ahead and make a serialized field private vector3 move offset, and then we're going to just add the offset to its current position. And then I'm going to make it move backwards 10x. If I click play now, we see our cube moves 10 units on the x-axis. And then let's go ahead and code in some basic state machine functionality. So let's do a public enum and just call this AI state. And we can have different states like patrol, attack. We'll just use a patrol and attack state for now, and maybe idle. And then we're going to do public AI state current AI state. Then we're going to go ahead and make a private void patrol state, which is just a function, and then a private void attack state, and a private void idle state. And then because I can never remember how to write switch functions, I just have it copied here, so I'll paste it in, and then write that switch function out in the late update because it uses movement. And what it's going to do is switch between different states. Yeah. So to explain that a little bit more, when it switches states, it's going to have different updates. So imagine this update being here 3 times. We now have 3 different updates we can switch between. Alright, next I'm going to add this script made by a YouTuber. Can't exactly remember his name. If I can find him, I'll include the link in the description. But it's this field of view script, and it's got an editor script to go with it. So we'll make a editor folder in here. Okay, and now we want to add that to our enemy cube. So add the field of view and set the target mask to player and the obstacle mask to default and enemy. And then on our enemy move script, we're going to do private field of view, and we're going to get that component. And remember, if you want to move this around later and put it in the children, you're just going to need to go get component in children. Alright, so you can move it to a different part or a child of the enemy cube if you want. But for now, we're just going to leave it the way it is. And then we're going to make a serialized field private, and in the field of view we have something called view radius, so we'll just go ahead and take that and set it to something, oh wait, we want it to be a float. Set it to something like We'll start off with 30, see what that looks like. And then after we get our field of view component, do field of view dot view radius equals view radius. Now let's test that. Alright, as you see, when I changed it to 10, the view radius shrunk, that line got smaller. And then we also have this view angle, which is a 360 range. So we'll go ahead and take that range, since that's what it is, since it's between 0 and 360, and we'll make a new serialized field, private float view angle, and we'll set the view angle to something like 32. And then we'll do the same thing, field of view dot view angle equals view angle. Alright, let's test that. Alright, that's a pretty narrow view angle, so let's go ahead and go to our inspector and just crank that up to 60. That looks a little better. Alright, now just to test, we're going to put this bit of logic here in, and this is going to check if the target is in the view cone. We're just going to put that in the update, and if it is, it will switch the AI to attack. So let's go ahead and test that. We can check here on the inspector by clicking on the enemy cube and scrolling down until we see the current enemy AI state. Alright, it switched to attack, and you see the line now showing up when I'm within the field of view. So we'll go ahead and move this, and we'll just write a new function called search for player. Forgot to put void there. And then we'll put that in our idle and in our patrol. Then we're going to go ahead and take that little bit of code we made earlier to move the agent and just put that in the idle, and this is in case we want to go ahead and move our agent when it's in idle mode on start. So let's say it's idle, it will still move to an idle spot. And of course, if you just want it to stay in place, we can set that to 0 and it will just stay idle. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to first position offset and go ahead and put the -10 in again. And the reason for that is we need to go ahead and make a second position offset for patrolling. Okay, then we need to make a bool for when this gets to its position, so it doesn't just continue walking forever, because right now it will go to its position, but you see the position just keeps moving with the update. So let's do a private bool idle stop equals false, and then if idle stop equals false, idle stop equals true, and we'll just move that, and that way it does it only once. Alright, and now it will stop on idle. Okay, now let's go ahead and add in our patrol. So let's make a private bool and call it patrol move and set it to false. And there's no way in heck I'm going to remember this, but I'm gonna go ahead and copy it in. And it's well commented, so you know what's going on. This is just gonna move it between the 2 points. So if I set the first position offset to 10 and the second position offset to 10, change this to patrol, it's gonna patrol between 2 points. Now you see it's moving over here because it's getting the world position, so we need to fix that so it gets a local position from the cube instead of going to the center of the map. And so to fix the cube's patrol, all we need to do is take our first position. I'll just go ahead and write this out again. First position equals transform.position position plus first position, and second position offset equals transform.position plus second position offset. And now our enemy cube is patrolling from its position to the offsets. Alright, now let's make it attack the player. Let's go to our prefabs and go to our projectile, and we're going to call this one player's projectile, and then we're going to duplicate it and make a new one called enemy's projectile. And then we're going to open the projectile script. We're going to make a serialized field, private bool is players equals, doesn't really matter because we're going to need a trigger one, so we'll set it to false. And so we need to check is players on player's projectile. Let's make sure that our gun is still shooting our player's projectile. Yes, it is. And so we'll go ahead and make two folders here. One for player, and then one for enemy. And then we'll go ahead and prefab our enemy. Now we need to make player health. Remember, you can make just one script called health and switch it with a bool or an enum, but we're going to make two scripts for simplicity's sake. So go ahead and make a new script called player health. Let's go ahead and slap the player health on the player. And for now, we can just copy paste our stuff from the enemy health. And then we're going to go to our projectile and do if is players and put the damage logic in. And then we're going to do else. I'm going to comment here is not players, enemies. And then we are going to do the same thing here, except we're going to change this to player health to get the player health. Alright. And now we need to add attack logic to our enemy. So let's go to our enemy move script, and let's actually go ahead and open our enemy cube and go ahead and make a new enemy attack script. And then add our enemy attack script to our enemy. Alright, and then let's make a serialized field, private, float, is attacking. Actually, this can just be private, I think. Don't need to see it. Set that to false by default. Actually, we need private float, my bad. Is attacking. And then if is attacking, we need to make another timer. So I'm just going to go into the gun script, copy one of our timers, and private float timer, replace the timers, and then serialized field, private float fire rate for how fast we want the enemy to shoot. And we'll say shoot every, I guess, 1 second. I'm actually doing this all wrong with the enemy attack. We want to remove that component, and we need to make a cube for the gun to represent the gun on the enemy, because we want it to be able to rotate. So we'll just make a cube, and we'll make it long like that, maybe like 0.5. And we're going to set this somewhere, and then we'll make a empty underneath that for the barrel, and we'll call this the enemy gun and put our enemy attack on that. And then we'll just call this the gun visual. And then we want it to face toward player, so we're going to make a new script called face object toward player. Put the face object toward player on your gun visual, remove the box collider. Let's open that script, and I'm not even going to bother to rewrite it. I'm just going to copy paste it from my old game here. And let's see what we need to do to fix this. So it's checking if we're attacking in the AI state machine, which we called enemy move, but we don't have something called is attacking. So let's go ahead and make a hide in an inspector, public bool is attacking equals false. And just to make sure it's always false, we'll go ahead and put it false on start. And then in attacking, we'll put true. And it goes to attack state. So now if it's attacking, it will move it. Otherwise, it will just face forward. So if not attacking, face gun forward. There we go. But it's not facing toward the player. So let's figure out what's wrong and fix that. Simple enough. Our player doesn't have a tag yet. So let's go into our player and set a tag. Let's go ahead and tag our enemy too. So let's go to our tags. They're not an enemy tag by default. That's weird. Go ahead and make a enemy tag and go ahead and add our enemy cube. Alright, now when we play, we should be able to, yep, it turns the gun, but it keeps moving after it sees us. It switches to attack. It keeps moving to the next position. So let's go ahead and make this public, the player object, and then in our enemy move, we will private face object towards player, face toward player equals get component and children face object toward player. That way we can get our player object after we start attacking. So we'll set the destination to the player object. Need dot position, there we go. And now when it's attacking, it should start following the player. What's going on here? I need to save this script. There we go. All right, cool. Now we need to add a stopping position so it doesn't do that. Okay, so now let's add our stopping radius. So I'm just gonna go ahead and once again copy some code from my game I'm making, and this is going to compare its current position to the player position and then the stopping distance. Alright, so let's take we have it in our face toward player script, our player object, and we already have an angle here using the FOV script we added, so we don't need that, we just need it to stop. And then else agent set destination is transform dot position. Alright, let's see if it worked. Now it stops, but it's not following us when I'm out of the range. So all we need to do is flip this around, and now, finally, when we go in front of it, it'll stop, follow, and then stop at the stopping position. So if we look at it now, see just as we come into the sphere, it stops. Awesome. Now let's go back to our enemy attack script, and we're going to do private enemy move. Then we're going to get our component from the parent of enemy move. We're going to get rid of this is attacking because we're going to call it from this script. So just put enemy move in front of is attacking, and then we're going to make a serialized field, private game object and projectile. And then just like on our player's gun, we need to make a ammo pool. So let's go ahead and copy that code over. I'll just set the pool size to something like 15, or set to 10 for now. And then set the prefab to the projectile. And then we're going to just remove that and call this enemy ammo pool. Okay. And then right here we're going to do attack logic. So just like in our gun, when it shoots the projectile, we will use this create projectile function. And then we're going to take those variables, add them to the script, and it doesn't need ammo because it's the enemy. It's just going to have infinite ammo. And then we're going to do our attack logic every time the fire rate. So every second it should shoot. Alright, now let's open our enemy again in isolation. Let's go to our gun, set the enemy projectile, and now let's see if it shoots. Oh, shooting just very slow. Looks like it did kill the player too, so that's good. So instead of his projectile speed, there we go. So now hopefully, there we go. But when it moves, it loses its velocity. So we need to add its current velocity. So back into our gun and go ahead and crank its attack speed, projectile speed up to 3000 since it's having to shoot upward. So to fix the velocity issue with the AI moving, we will take the game object velocity and add it to the speed. There we go. This is a little bit confusing. You see I'm pulling it from my RPG game. So now, what the hell? Oh, we need to get component in parent. There we go. Awesome. If it shoots me enough, I die. Okay, and let's make sure that velocity is working. And now you see, like, when it's chasing me, its bullets aren't being affected by its moving velocity. Now the last thing is actually very simple, and then we'll be done for today. We're going to go to our enemy, get our enemy health, and we're going to make a hide-in inspector, public bool enemy got hit equals false. On start, set to false, and then we need to also private float max health and set the max health to the enemy health. Alright. And now if max health is less than, or actually I guess if health is less than max health, enemy got hit equals true. Alright. And then we want the enemy to attack if it gets hit. So in our update here, if we need to get our enemy health, so private enemy health equals get component, just get component because it's here. And then if enemy health, wait, not if enemy health, if enemy health dot got hit, then we need to switch our state to attack. And then just so this isn't always updating, private bool, nah, it's fine like this. So now if we shoot the enemy, it switches to the attack state and it wants to attack us. Alright, that's it. That is all for this video, guys. This has been a really long tutorial. There's no game over screen or pause menu or anything. Next tutorial we'll be doing pause menu and game over screen. But for now, you have a fully working FPS game, hopefully all the bug fix, and an enemy that attacks. Let's just make sure if I attack with the raycast gun, yep, still attacks. And then we can destroy the enemy or we can become destroyed. See you guys next time.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any more future videos.